The study, if you can even call it a study, basically, here's a paper. Tell us how many cups of red meat you've had in the last 2 years. I would be embarrassed by the conclusions that were drawn. That's lazy science. Good morning, folks. How's everybody doing today? I'm taking a different direction to work today because there are accidents everywhere in Nashville apparently this morning. Not be too awful late today, and these health vlogs are getting a little more difficult to do in the morning because of the lack of sunlight, so bear with me on the dark screen. I apologize for that. It'll probably be lit up here in a couple of minutes, but I'm also driving a direction where I'm not on the interstate. There's a bunch of trees all around, so it blocks out even more of the light. So, quick health vlog update info for you guys. My weight is basically staying the same. It's within that like 263 to 265 range, kind of hanging right there. I can't complain about that. That's 120 pounds lower than where I started this whole journey back when I first learned what keto was. I can't really complain. Happy about that. One more little piece of info for you guys for my health. I have kind of been a little bit silent these last 4, 5, 6 days on YouTube, other than just my videos and a few comments. Struggling with pain over here. If you've seen my health vlog about my teeth, you know that I'm going to have to go in and have wisdom teeth removed and another tooth on top of that and all this kind of stuff. A few days back, I guess it was over the weekend, I started getting a little bit of pain in this tooth over here. Not anything severe, just a little bit, kind of on the gum line, and, you know, wasn't really something that I thought that much about. I was like, it's just a little inflamed or sore, and, you know, it needs to come out and everything, so it won't be a problem. But it's just kind of continued getting a little bit worse and a little bit worse. In the last couple of days, it's been pretty painful. And last night and today, it started to swell up really bad on my gums back there. Kind of like, I'm assuming it's probably like maybe like a dental abscess or something like that. That's no fun. I'm already scheduled for the surgery for the teeth being removed, so I have a dental cleaning tomorrow, so I'm going to ask them about it and see if, you know, if this is something that can just be maintained for a couple more weeks until I go and have the surgery, or if this is something that they need to deal with immediately. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we will be just fine to just kind of, you know, manage pain and symptoms and all that kind of stuff until time for that surgery. I don't want to have to go in a second time, have something else taken care of as well, but we'll see. This kind of goes back to what I've said, you know, keto and carnivore are great, but it's not a magic fix-all pill. And if there are things that you've done to your health in the past, like not take care of your oral health because of all the sugar and things destroying your teeth and gums, sometimes you have to take some action and you got to get some things fixed, and carnivore can't always do that. But we'll be all right. We're doing our thing, and we'll get it taken care of one way or the other. My wife is an amazing woman and is so kind as to constantly be concerned and be doing whatever it is she can to try to help ease this kind of stuff and just help me out. So I appreciate her very much. So while we're on here and we're talking about what carnivore can do and what carnivore can't do and all of this kind of stuff, it kind of makes me think about the Harvard study that everybody is talking about. And, you know, Dr. Berry did a video on this that I watched that I thought was just a fantastic summation of that study. So I just thought I would address it very briefly. I don't really have a whole lot to tell you about it because there are people that are far more qualified to tell you what it is and why it's that way than I am. But here's basically my 2 cents. I looked over the study that Dr. Berry had shared, and I looked at the information and listened to him and some other people talking about it. And essentially, this is what I sort of have summarized from the whole thing, what it all kind of comes down to. The study, if you can even call it a study, I think that's a pretty loose usage of that term, study. And quite honestly, if I were Harvard, I would be embarrassed, not by the study itself being done. I understand, people do studies and there's different ways of doing it. I wouldn't be embarrassed necessarily that the study was done. I would be embarrassed by the conclusions that were drawn and the well-documented way that they came to those conclusions, and then to say that that is a study that actually tells us anything. That's lazy science, and I'm not a scientist. I like to think of myself as a relatively well-read, researched, and intelligent human being who can think for myself, but I'm not a scientist. I'm not a medical person. I'm none of those things. And I can look at that and I can immediately see the problems that exist. So the biggest issue for me is that there are so many ways of collecting data that work. And it's expensive to do the study the way it should be done. I'll agree, and it would be very laborious and difficult, truthfully. But the way that they did it was by taking data that had already been collected from food frequency questionnaires. So basically, here's a paper, tell us how many cups of red meat you've had in the last 2 years on a regular basis, like every 2 years sending out these questionnaires to people. I don't know about you guys, but when I cook, I have no idea how many cups of beef I eat. I constantly get criticism for the fact that I don't even measure in my recipe videos. And although I test all my recipes with measurement, I can't even tell you with my own recipes how much of various ingredients I've been eating. I can give you a guess, but I can't tell you exactly what I've been eating. So not a good method of collecting data, first of all. And the problem with that is not only are you asking people to estimate what they've had, but you're asking them to remember what they've had and then estimate what they've had. So there's just massive room for error in that. So that, first of all, doesn't help. The other thing is it doesn't take into account all of the other stuff that tends to go with red meat when you eat it. So this is a point Dr. Berry has made in several different videos about red meat and about these kinds of food questionnaires and stuff, and I really agree with his point. But if you say, okay, well, I've had this amount of red meat, whatever, and a bunch of that was cheeseburgers, well, what about the sugar-filled ketchup and the bun and the french fries and the Coke and everything else that goes along with having that cheeseburger for many people? Not to say that everybody does that, but there are a lot of people that do, so it's like we're not taking into account any of those factors. So there's just a lot of different reasons why this could be an extremely erroneous sample to try to pull data from. And they basically took that data and they drew the conclusion that, well, this seems to support the already developed conclusion that the recommended way of eating is going to possibly reduce your risk of diabetes. And then from that, they have, maybe a little bit Harvard, but more like media outlets, whatever, a bunch of people have then inferred by going way further that red meat causes diabetes. That is what that actually says. That is what is actually going on, and that is how everyone is coming to these conclusions and actually doing this. I'm not particularly concerned, and I don't believe there's really any evidence whatsoever that red meat has any link to diabetes. And on top of that, I have my own experiment of massively increasing my red meat intake by going carnivore and basically eating all animal product, most of which is red meat, and a bunch of eggs and, some chicken and some things like that, and seeing every health marker I have improve. So That's basically my conclusion on that. Guys, that's all I've got for you today. Just go out there and do your research. Don't believe everything you hear, especially when it's in the media, and especially if it's attacking keto and carnivore and eating meat and all of these things that we know the media and all of these funded because of political reasons, companies and media outlets and everything else, they have some stake in saying that meat is not good for you. Get it? Steak? Sorry, dad puns happen early in the morning. So anyway, guys, that's all I've got for you today. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Thoughts and prayers for this whole thing to calm itself down until I can get surgery and get it taken care of are appreciated. I hope you guys are doing everything you can to take care of your families, doing your research, and just make sure that you guys are always thinking for yourselves to try to figure out what the best way is to take care of your health, because it is your life. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is Chris Cooking Nashville. Eat your meat, love your life. I'll see you in the kitchen for the next recipe.